following program was recorded at iPro Transport's annual 3PL Summit and Chief Supply Chain Officer Forum in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm pleased to welcome Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Brain, Russell Goodman.
Joining us for a conversation today on the OHL-Starbucks relationship is Greg Javer, Vice President Global Logistics at Starbucks, Scott McWilliams, CEO, OHL. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Russell.
you. First question, I guess, goes to Greg. The last 2 or 3 years have been some significant changes in the 3PL client relationship due to the adverse circumstances in our economy. Has that impacted you as well?
Absolutely. So we, in the past, had relationships with 3PLs that we would consider to be at arm's length, and really at arm's length. And recently, we've changed our philosophy and have put in relationship managers into all the key sites and key relationships that we have, including OHL. And that's really to manage the total relationship from a service, quality, cost standpoint, as well as have effective communications with the 3PLs. And then take those good practices that we've learned and transfer those into our entire network.
Well, Scott, I want to get your view on that. What steps have been taken to ensure success in the 3PL customer relationship?
Yeah. Russell, there are a number of steps that we've had to take as a asset-based 3PL company to work with Starbucks over the last 9 years. First of all is developing peer-to-peer relationships at multiple levels within the organization, which is something that is critical to a relationship between a third-party provider and a client. I think the thing that is most important is as management changes occur on the client side, we have to understand that people come in with different philosophies and different strategies, and we have to adapt to those strategies. We've implemented the Net Promoter Score as one of the key indicators of the health of a relationship with our customers. We also do customer performance appraisal forums where they can tell us in great detail about each of the areas of our services where we are doing a great job and where we have areas to improve. The other thing that I think is very important to us is understanding the scope and the measures by which our client will hold us accountable and how that scope approaches what the business was started out being and then how it's evolved over time.
Greg, you know, innovation is something that's often more talked about than actually practiced. Do you feel that there have been some innovative steps taken in the relationship that you have with OHL?
Yes, absolutely. And what we've done is leveraged OHL's current innovative capabilities they had with technology. So on the warehouse management system side, we've implemented their voice picking technology. We've also, through that process, tried the finger scanning technology that they brought. And then lastly, on the EDI and labeling side, in our consumer products division, we successfully launched a new product to the CPG market by leveraging the technologies that they had in place with some of their current customer base on EDI and labeling. That was very effective.
Scott, here's the money question, I guess. How do you validate the financial success of a relationship like this?
Well, I think in working with Starbucks and specifically with Greg, what we've had to understand is how their strategy has evolved over time. And as their business changes, we have to change as a third-party logistics provider. One of the main things is understanding the scope and if there is change to the scope and how that can impact our costs relative to our service with Starbucks. So we have to be very dynamic and identify those changes almost on a daily basis.
In any kind of relationship, oftentimes there are gaps. Are there any gaps in the 3PL client relationship here, and what steps are being taken to close those?
Yeah, I think the biggest gap that we found was really what I call having the right work levels synced up. And you know, that it has to transcend and start from the top and then work its way down the organization. So really getting all the levels set in an organization. And really at Starbucks, we really want to do business with companies that have those levels in place. So if there is an issue, we can come to the next level to eventually, and resolve that quickly. So getting all the levels set in the relationship has taken some time, and that's really due to, there's been a lot of change at Starbucks and a lot of confusion in who the folks are going to deal with in the level. So once we got that set, we've done very well.
Well, Scott, from the OHL perspective, tell us, what kind of gaps were there and What's been done about them?
Well, we have a comprehensive customer care program that we implemented with Starbucks years ago, and it starts with the executive sponsor, which is me. So I work very closely with Greg and his peers to understand how we're doing in terms of executing on a day-to-day basis. And when I talk about executing, it's from end to end, cradle to grave. So it's not just those specific services that we manage for Starbucks, but how are we impacting their stores and their customers? One of the things that's very important to us is understanding how those changes affect the business. So the business is very lumpy. There are promotions that are done, there are new products that are introduced, and we have to be on top of those. And we have to be on top of the forecast that Greg provides our team to understand what level of resources we need and how we need to react to those changes.
Well, Scott, I want to stick with you for just a moment. Tell us, do you feel that 3PL services are becoming commoditized?
Well, I think if you look at the components of 3PL services, they are commodities. It's the ability of a third-party logistics provider to implement all of those different services and products to the satisfaction of the customer. And we have a very important engineering and implementation group that looks at systems, looks at processes, and not only puts those processes in place, but reevaluates those on a very frequent basis. Slotting is a very important component of that. Our ability to utilize and leverage our spend with other customers to the advantage of Starbucks is one of the things that I think we brought to the table.
Greg, I want to finish with you. Question is this, it has to do with vested outsourcing. I know that there is a relationship like that exists between you and OHL. I guess the threshold question is, first of all, what is vested outsourcing and what difference has it made in your relationship?
Sure. So we're really just getting started on that concept. Invested outsourcing is taking, not only your cost components, but also the profit components for the 3PL, and then our customer components of increasing sales, and putting those all together and optimizing them. So we're on our way. We've got the traditional gain share cost components very well in place and entrenched in the organization. The next step is to really take the quality components and take those to what I call really extreme levels, and take those out for a spin so we can get OHL to that level, and then determine that that final benefit for not only OHL but for us. So we're working on those service and quality metrics that we're going to put in place on an incentive basis with OHL, and then from there we'll be able to transfer those great practices that we've put in place to the network, and that's what we're counting on.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a fascinating look into a very important relationship. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Russell.
It was Greg Javer, Starbucks. Scott McWilliams, OHL, speaking with us today about their 3PL customer relationship. Thank you for watching.